Stop asking God whether you are still chosen. The question sounds humble, but it has quietly become one of the most destructive habits in your life. Chosen one. God knows what happened to you. He remembers when direction felt clear. He remembers when you could move before fear rewrote every instruction. But something changed. Now you ask for confirmation after confirmation. You revisit decisions that once felt peaceful. You compare your timing with people who were never assigned your path. And every delay begins to feel like rejection, even when nothing has actually been taken from you. This is not God condemning you. This is God interrupting a pattern before it steals another season. You have not lost the calling. You have been exhausting the receiver through which clarity was meant to reach you. One part of you remembers the promise. Another part remembers the pain. One part wants to move. Another part wants absolute safety before taking one step. And when all those voices speak at once, confusion starts to feel louder than guidance. This is the divided receiver. It is not proof that you are faithless. It is not proof that God has withdrawn his hand. It is what happens when sensitivity, disappointment, fear, and exhaustion compete for control of the same moment. Before this message ends, you will understand three things. You will see why sensitive people become trapped in constant checking. You will understand why more prayer and more signs do not always create more clarity. And you will learn how to restore the state in which guidance can be recognized and acted upon. Here is the first truth you need. Confusion does not always mean you lack guidance. Sometimes it means too many parts of you are trying to interpret the same guidance at once. Fear asks for proof. Pain asks for protection. Hope asks you to move. God is not asking you to become reckless. He is asking you to stop letting fear hold veto power over every peaceful instruction. One path leads to wisdom. The other keeps reopening a conversation that was already complete. Write this in the comments. I will not ask fear to confirm what God already made clear. Let that sentence become a line in the sand. You are not here to beg for a new identity. You are here to remember the responsibility inside the one you already carry. The issue is not that you are no longer chosen. The issue is that you still wait to feel chosen before you permit yourself to move. And the habit behind that waiting is more subtle than most people realize. The habit is called constant spiritual checking. It begins quietly. You ask for one more sign. You watch one more message. You reopen one more decision. Soon, what looked like discernment becomes a cycle that never allows any answer to feel complete. Discernment listens deeply, then moves with care. Fear keeps reopening the conversation. Discernment may pause because wisdom is still forming. Constant checking pauses because certainty never feels high enough. You feel tense after checking. You feel smaller after comparing. You feel less clear after consuming another message. Instead of receiving direction, you become buried beneath 10 possible meanings that all demand attention at once. This pattern appears in simple ways. You revisit a door God already helped you close. You ask others to confirm what peace already settled. You call delay obedience, even when fear is the real reason you have not moved. Chosen one, this does not mean you are foolish. It means fear has learned to wear a spiritual voice. It says you are being careful. It says you are waiting on God. But underneath those words, it is asking for the impossible promise that you will never feel pain again. That promise cannot be given. No calling arrives without uncertainty. Faith is not the absence of questions. Faith is refusing to let every question cancel the instruction that came before it. Here is the breakthrough. Your need for confirmation does not prove that God stopped speaking. It shows that fear has begun demanding the final vote. You receive peace, but fear asks for evidence. You see a clear next step, but fear asks for a guarantee. This is how the cycle feeds itself. Checking creates tension. Tension weakens clarity. Weakened clarity creates more checking. But God is not exposing this to shame you. He is showing you where your authority has been leaking. You do not need to stop praying. You do not need to ignore wisdom. You do not need to rush every decision. You need to notice when seeking guidance has turned into avoiding responsibility. Ask yourself one question: did I receive new information, or did I simply become more afraid? That question can separate wisdom from noise. It can reveal whether you are listening for truth or searching for permission to remain still. Discernment listens deeply. Fear keeps reopening the conversation. Remember that sentence. Constant spiritual checking rarely begins with weakness. It usually begins after pain teaches the mind that clarity is dangerous. Constant spiritual checking did not begin because you lacked faith. It often began after a moment that hurt more than you admitted. You trusted a promise. You followed what felt right. Then, the outcome did not match what you expected. After that, something inside you changed. You still wanted guidance, but you no longer wanted risk. So the mind created a guard. Never let you move unless everything felt completely safe. At first, that guard seemed helpful. It made you careful. It made you question every feeling. But over time, protection became control, and control slowly turned every clear instruction into another trial. This is where the divided receiver formed. One part of you still recognizes peace. One part feels the pull toward your next step. Another part warns that movement may lead to pain. Because both parts speak with urgency, you mistake inner conflict for divine silence. That silence has a name: borrowed silence. It is not the absence of God. It is the space fear occupies when your mind is too exhausted to separate memory from present guidance. Chosen one, this matters. You are not weak. You are not lazy. You are not spiritually broken. You may be using hypervigilance as protection because your system learned to fear another painful mistake. But certainty is not available before every meaningful step. Sometimes wisdom gives enough light for one move, not the whole road. Sometimes peace arrives quietly, while fear arrives with arguments and memories that feel more convincing. You know this conflict. You know what to do, but your body tightens. You feel a clear yes, but your mind creates 10 warnings. You make a decision, then spend the night trying to undo it. By morning, you call the confusion a sign. It may not be a sign. It may be an old wound trying to become your prophet. Pain remembers danger well. It does not always recognize purpose. This is why strong people can lose clarity. This is why prayerful people can become overloaded. Spiritual maturity does not make the nervous system invisible. Faith can remain alive while attention becomes fragmented and exhausted. There will be a day when one decision does not require 3 days of self-interrogation. You will notice peace, test it with wisdom, and move. You will stop asking every fearful thought for permission. You will remember how it feels to trust yourself without worshipping certainty. Take one slow breath now. Think about the last time you felt a quiet yes before fear began speaking. Do not analyze it. Just remember the feeling. That quiet recognition is not gone. It has been covered. And this leads to the next question. Why did clarity feel more natural when you were younger, before stress, disappointment, and constant information trained your mind to interrupt itself? There was a time when clarity felt natural. You did not need endless proof. You imagined freely. You noticed patterns quickly. You followed curiosity before fear could explain why the idea might fail. As a child, you could create without permission. You could learn without measuring every mistake. That state was open attention. Then life became louder. Stress entered. Responsibility increased. Disappointment taught you to scan for danger. Information arrived faster than your mind could process it. And slowly, the simple act of listening became crowded by constant evaluation. Now 2 forces pull the same wheel: One side sees possibility, the other predicts loss. One side feels a quiet direction, the other demands proof before movement. When both pull at once, even a clear road can feel impossible to follow. But hear this carefully. The fog is not your identity. It may be a condition created by pressure, fatigue, divided attention, and habits that can be addressed. You did not lose your intelligence. You lost easy access to a calmer way of using it. This is why old memories still ache. You remember being creative. You remember learning quickly. You remember trusting an idea long enough to test it. Those memories prove that state once existed. Researchers have studied how different parts of the brain communicate. Some findings suggest that focus, creativity, and integrated thinking depend on cooperation rather than one side fighting the other. Later, I will show you a short listening method designed around that idea. It is not magic. It is not a replacement for prayer. It is not a promise that everyone will feel the same result. It raises an important question. What could change if your mind stopped interrupting itself long enough to receive one clear instruction? Imagine waking up without immediately searching for danger. You sit quietly. One priority becomes visible. You begin before comparison enters. You finish something important, and completion gives your confidence a reason to return. That is the reversal. You are not trying to become a child again. You are recovering the openness, focus, and curiosity that pressure trained you to abandon. You are learning to use adult wisdom without letting adult fear control every decision. Let this truth settle now. You are not empty. You are overloaded. You are not forgotten. You are divided. And division can be addressed. The next step is practical. Before you restore clarity, you must stop feeding the 3 behaviors that weaken it every day. The first behavior is reopening decisions made in peace. You know this pattern. You choose calmly. Then, anxiety arrives later, and you treat that anxiety as new information. Do not confuse panic with guidance. A peaceful decision does not become wrong because fear became loud afterward. When you are exhausted, triggered, or deprived of sleep, give the decision time before changing it. Use a simple rule. Wait 1 full day before reversing an important choice made in peace. Do not ask 5 people to vote on your life. Let your nervous system settle first. The second behavior is collecting spiritual information without integration. You watch another message, you save another quote, but nothing changes because insight never becomes action. Information can become anesthesia. It can make you feel active while keeping you still. After every meaningful insight, choose one small action you can complete within 1 day. Send the message. Make the call. Begin the page. The third behavior is treating exhaustion like a character flaw. You call yourself lazy. You accuse yourself of lacking faith. You push harder, while your attention becomes weaker and your body asks to recover. Tired does not mean unchosen. Brain fog does not prove your calling disappeared. Sometimes the obstacle is spiritual resistance. Sometimes it is physiological overload. Wisdom respects both, without turning either one into shame. Here is the breakthrough. You may have used more prayer, more content, and more checking as the solution to confusion, but when the receiver is overwhelmed, adding more input can increase the noise you are trying to escape. Clarity is not produced by pressure. Clarity is recognized in coherence. It appears when your thoughts, body, attention, and values stop pulling in opposite directions long enough for one honest next step to become visible. Imagine tomorrow morning, you wake up, you choose one priority, you begin before opening every notification, you stay with the task, and your energy is no longer scattered across 10 unfinished decisions. You may notice an opportunity already near you. You may finally understand that the door was not hidden, it was covered by noise. So, stop reopening peaceful decisions. Stop consuming without integrating. Stop calling exhaustion a moral failure. These changes remove the daily fuel that keeps constant spiritual checking alive. There is also a simple transition ritual that can help you move from noise into a more receptive state. It takes only 8 minutes. I will explain that method later. But first you need a reset that works without any product. The goal is not to make you dependent on another tool. The goal is to help you recognize when clarity returns and act before fear turns that clarity into another debate. The reset has 4 steps. The first step is to name the noise. Do not call every thought intuition. Do not call every fear a warning. Write down the sentence, creating pressure inside you. Maybe the sentence says you will fail. Maybe it says you waited too long. Maybe it says God has moved on. Once the thought is visible, you can examine it instead of letting it silently control the room. The second step is to reduce the inputs. Stop watching more messages for a short period. Turn off the source that triggers comparison. Give yourself 10 quiet minutes without a screen, a comment section. Silence may feel uncomfortable at first. That discomfort does not mean the practice is wrong. It often means your attention has become used to constant stimulation, while stillness now feels unfamiliar. The third step is to return to one instruction. Ask yourself this question: what is the last thing I knew clearly, but still have not done? Do not search for a dramatic answer. Choose one action that is small, specific, and possible today. Maybe you need to reply honestly. Maybe you need to rest. Maybe you need to begin the application, organize the first page, or end a conversation that keeps reopening an old wound. The fourth step is to restore the receiving state. Breathe slowly, sit quietly, walk without your phone, pray without demanding an immediate sign. You may also use a focus or synchronization tool if it supports you. No method should replace sleep, healthcare, prayer, or wise support. No audio can make every decision for you. A tool can only help create conditions where attention feels steadier, while you remain responsible for what you choose next. This is the deeper breakthrough. You do not need 10 more answers. You need to return to a state where you can use the first answer. Knowledge is not always missing. Access is often the problem. Practice the reset in order. Name the noise. Reduce the inputs. Return to one instruction. Restore the receiving state. Keep it simple enough to repeat, because a complicated ritual can become another form of avoidance. If you are still listening, you are probably not searching for temporary encouragement. You are searching for a way to become someone who can act again. You want to trust your mind without worshipping every thought. You want to hear guidance without checking it until nothing remains. You want spiritual sensitivity and practical movement to exist in the same life. The 4 steps address behavior. They help reduce noise and rebuild action. But one layer remains. Why can you understand the problem completely, feel inspired for a moment, and still return to the same divided state tomorrow? That question leads to the physical and cognitive layer. It explains why insight alone does not always become movement, and why a short daily practice may help support the transition from scattered attention toward greater coherence. Knowing the problem is not always enough. You can understand every pattern. You can feel inspired tonight. Then tomorrow arrives, pressure returns, and the same divided state takes control again. This happens because insight and movement are not the same process. Stress can train your attention to search for danger first. Possibility becomes harder to notice, while familiar fears receive immediate access to your focus. You may know the next step, but your body still braces. You may recognize a peaceful answer, but your mind keeps producing objections because the old protective pattern has not learned that the present moment is different. This is why more information often fails. The mind does not need another explanation. It needs less noise, repeated action, and a steadier state where different parts can work together instead of competing. The goal is not perfect certainty. The goal is greater coherence. Your thoughts, attention, emotions, and intentions begin moving in the same direction, and one useful instruction becomes easier to recognize. You have prayed, journaled, and studied. You are not missing motivation, but you may still struggle with brain fog, scattered attention, and inconsistent action. That does not make your effort meaningless. It shows that behavior is only one part of the solution. Your physical and cognitive state also matters, when stress has become your normal setting. Earlier, I asked why clarity felt easier when you were younger. I also mentioned research into communication between different parts of the brain and a short listening method built around greater coordination. Now it is time to close that loop. The method does not replace the 4-step reset. It does not replace prayer, rest, medical care, or wise support. It is simply one tool intended to support a more focused and integrated state. It may help the person who understands the problem, yet still cannot turn understanding into consistent movement. You may not need another speech. You may need a repeatable transition out of mental noise. The clarity you received is real. But clarity alone is not movement. The door may already be visible. What remains is restoring the part of you that can walk through it. Do you remember the question I asked you to hold? What if the fog is not who you are? The product materials connect that question to research that received the Nobel Prize in 1981. Dr. Roger Sperry studied split brain function and the different roles of the two hemispheres. The materials use that research as a foundation for the idea that clearer thinking can be supported when both sides work in greater coordination. They describe this condition as whole brain activation. It is associated in the product story with focus, creativity, learning, and recognizing patterns without becoming trapped in endless analysis. A woman from California described what life felt like before finding the method. She had tried prayer, journaling, meditation, and manifestation, but still felt disconnected from the reality behind the words she believed. After about 10 days, she reported less stress and a renewed sense of connection, as though a blocked channel was becoming available again. That was her personal experience, not a guaranteed result. A man from Texas shared a different struggle. He carried business pressure and family responsibility, while brain fog became so normal that he stopped recognizing it as fog. After around 2 weeks, he reported clearer thinking and easier decisions. He felt more able to respond to work without the same mental heaviness. His experience was personal as well, and results can differ. The team behind the method is led by Doctor Daniel Barone, a neurologist in New York City. According to the product materials, they developed an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence using neural sync technology. They call it the Genius Switch. It is a digital audio track designed to support whole brain activation and coordination between the left and right hemispheres. Put on headphones, close your eyes, relax. Listen for 8 minutes each day. The audio is delivered by email after purchase, and the materials state that access remains available for life. This is not presented as a meditation app. It is not positioned as a common brainwave track or a magic frequency. The company says the sequence uses a layered auditory protocol developed for a different purpose. That distinction matters for people who have tried ordinary audio tracks and felt nothing. The claim is that this specific sequence was designed around hemisphere synchronization. The Genius Switch is not for everyone. It may fit the chosen one who has already prayed, reflected, and done serious inner work, but still feels blocked by scattered attention and persistent fog. It is for the person ready to stop treating mental exhaustion as a moral failure. It is also for the person who understands that a tool can support clarity without replacing God, wisdom, action, or professional care. The product materials place the original value at $500. They list the usual price at $49, while the offer page described in the materials presents a reduction to $39. The offer also includes 4 digital bonuses. They are a guided visualization, a smart grocery shopping guide, a classic manifestation book, and a printable 5 habits infographic. The materials state that the purchase includes a full money-back guarantee. They also say the guarantee can be used after listening more than once, so the buyer can evaluate the experience instead of trusting promises alone. No responsible person can promise that every listener will feel the same result. This is not a medical treatment. It does not diagnose, cure, or replace care for any neurological, psychological, or physical condition. There is also an important source warning. According to the product file, the official version is not distributed through Amazon, YouTube, Spotify, or public audio platforms. Similar titles may appear elsewhere, but the company says those tracks are not the same product. The official information is available through the link in the description and the pinned comment. Read the page before deciding. Review the mechanism, guarantee, bonuses, and current price. Do not purchase, because fear told you that your destiny depends on it. Use the guarantee to decide from experience rather than pressure. The resource is an option for supporting a clearer routine, not a test of faith, and not a condition for remaining chosen. What has been arranged for you is not created by a product, but greater clarity may help you notice what is already near, understand what is being asked, and move without letting fear reopen every decision. A tool can support clarity. It cannot replace God. It cannot replace obedience. It cannot decide for you or remove your responsibility. You do not need to buy anything to receive the truth of this message. Sleep still matters. Prayer still matters. Honest action still matters. Professional support still matters. When needed, the resource is an option, not a verdict. Your worth, calling, and relationship with God do not depend on a purchase. Return to the deeper current. Stop checking whether you are still chosen. Start living with the responsibility of someone who has received an assignment. This means protecting your attention. It means noticing when fear borrows a spiritual voice. It means refusing to reopen every peaceful decision simply because discomfort arrived later. Picture a different morning. You wake up and do not reach immediately for noise. You create a quiet space. You choose one priority, and you stay with it long enough for movement to replace anxiety. Use the 4-step reset. Name the noise, reduce the inputs, return to one instruction, restore the receiving state. Repetition gives it strength. Then something begins to change. You complete the message. You kept delaying. You make the call. You speak calmly, because you are no longer arguing with 10 imagined outcomes. You stop asking other people to approve every step. You still welcome wisdom and test what you sense, but you no longer surrender your direction to the loudest fearful thought in the room. This is where trust returns. It returns as evidence created through action. Each completed step teaches your mind that clarity can be followed without disaster. Your calling was never meant to become an excuse for endless waiting. Being chosen is not only about receiving a promise, it is also about becoming able to carry that promise with steadiness, humility, and courage. There is a difference between being chosen and becoming trustworthy with the choice. One describes what was given. The other describes the person you become through how you respond. That is where this message is taking you now. You are moving beyond the need to feel special. You are becoming someone who can protect the receiver, honor the instruction, and walk forward without demanding certainty from every step. Being chosen was never meant to become a label you use to feel above others. It is a responsibility. It asks you to guard your attention, honor what you receive, and move when the next step becomes clear. The old identity waits for rescue. It asks for another sign. It uses suffering as proof that something important must be happening. But maturity does not need endless drama. Maturity can recognize a quiet instruction and follow it. The new identity is different. You know when to pause. You know when to rest. You know when fear is pretending to be wisdom. and you stop asking every anxious thought to vote on the direction of your life. You protect the receiver, you reduce the noise, you return to one instruction, then you act before uncertainty becomes another prison. This is how trust is built. Trust grows when you keep one small promise to yourself, then another, while God teaches you how to carry more without abandoning peace. Hear this now. I did not withdraw the calling. I am teaching you how to carry it without destroying yourself. Let those words reach the place that has been bracing for rejection. You were not discarded. You were being trained to stop confusing pressure with purpose and to stop calling constant exhaustion obedience. Write this in the comments. I am becoming trustworthy with what I have been given. Do not write it as performance. Write it as agreement with the person you are choosing to become. You do not need perfect certainty. You need enough clarity for the next faithful step. You do not need to see the entire road. You need the courage to honor the light already in front of you. If the mind restoration resource feels relevant, you can review it below. But your deeper work begins here. Protect what enters your attention. Respect your limits. Follow through on what peace has already made clear. Chosen one, the question is changing now. You are no longer asking whether you were selected. You are asking whether your daily life is becoming stable enough to carry what was placed inside you. Release the fear that God has left you behind. Release the need for another sign before every step. Release the habit of reopening decisions that were made in peace. You have carried that weight long enough. You do not need to punish yourself for being tired. You do not need to call confusion a prophecy. You can stop, breathe, and let the noise lose its authority. Ask for discernment that is quiet and steady. Ask for peace in your nervous system. Ask for courage that does not depend on excitement, and wisdom that knows the difference between rest and avoidance. Let this prayer become simple. God, clear what fear has distorted. Strengthen what disappointment has weakened. Help me recognize the next instruction, and help me obey without demanding control over every outcome. Now hear this. You are not being chosen again today. You are being reminded that my choice was never the part that changed. The fear changed. The pressure changed. Your ability to receive became tired, but the calling did not disappear because one season became quiet. Declare this with your whole heart. I am not forgotten. I am not rejected. I will not ask fear to confirm what God has made clear. I will care for my mind. I will care for my body. I will care for my spirit. I will take the next clear step, even when I cannot see the whole road. This is the end of the old identity. The version of you that needed constant confirmation can rest now. The version of you that believed suffering was proof of worth can release that burden. You are no longer chosen. You are no longer the person who must feel chosen every morning before taking responsibility for the day. The choice was never the unstable part. Your relationship with uncertainty was. And now, with humility and courage, you are learning to carry both faith and responsibility in the same hands. Write this in the comments. I will move with clarity. Let it become the final agreement you make with yourself today. Like this message if it reached you at the exact moment you were questioning your direction. Let it be a simple way of marking the moment when you stopped calling fear discernment. Think of one person who has gone quiet. They still pray, but they no longer trust what they hear inside. They smile around others, yet privately wonder whether God has moved on without them. Send this message to that person. Let the words meet them where your own words may not reach. Subscribe if you want more messages about clarity, calling, healing, and the courage to act. May peace settle over your thoughts. May clarity enter your decisions. May courage meet you at the next step. May you stop chasing signs that fear can always question. May you recognize the quiet instruction already waiting beneath the noise, and may you honor it before another season passes. Chosen one, You are not abandoned. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are learning to listen without panic. You are learning to move without perfect certainty. You are learning to carry the calling without losing yourself. Go forward in peace. Protect the receiver. Trust the next clear step. And remember, God did not ask you to understand the whole journey before beginning. He asked you to be faithful with the light you have now.